In this video, I'm going to show you what I consider to be the simplest way to make wine from a kit. I've done this process for a few years now. I've been making wine for 7 years, and I consider this the easiest way to do a kit. I wouldn't use it for making juices, which take up to 6 months or more, but I use it for a kit because a kit is generally 28 days. What you want to do is clean and sanitize everything you're going to use. And I'm using what's called a FastFerment. That's what I'm going to use instead of a carboy. And you also want to have a wine thief. I have a large one so I can get a lot more wine out of there to fill the test tube and hydrometer to do all your readings. They're soaking in potassium metabisulfite solution. You want some kind of stirring paddle and or for your drill a stirring paddle, which is even more effective, and then an airlock. And these are all being sanitized, as is the FastFerment. This has sanitizing solution. And I'd also recommend having the thermometer that goes with it so you can check the temperature of the water that's in there, or the wine that's in there. And you have a set of instructions with a wine kit and a set of instructions with a FastFerment. And I go with, they have two options, option 1, option 2. Option 2 is the easiest way. They're both easy, but this is the easiest, and that's why I go with it. And what I do is I read between the two with the instructions and balance it out that way. This one with the easiest says to clean and sanitize all equipment, assemble the FastFerment, and then pour contents of the bag into the FastFerment and add water to desired volume. And then slowly sprinkle pack with bentonite, stirring constantly as you pour it in. But what this says is you want to prepare that first. So you pour 3 liters or 12 cups of warm water into the bottom of a primary fermenter and stir in the bentonite. And then empty the contents of the grape juice concentrate into the primary fermenter. Then you rinse the bag with the water and add that to the fermenter. And then fill it up to the 23-liter, 6-gallon mark using tepid drinking water. Now, what I do is I use a mix. I have a capsule here that I heat water with, because I also have a hose here connected to a filter, a carbon filter that filters my tap water to give me good tasting, clean tap water. So that's how I get the tepid waters. I mix the heated water with the non-heated. I try to reach temperature of like 70 to 75 degrees is what you really want to shoot for. And then once we get to that point, then we'll check the SG, which is specific gravity, so you can see what your potential alcohol is going to be. And you want to keep track of all this stuff, and it's a good idea to keep notes. Have note-making app on your phone, or just handwrite notes, or whatever you want to do. You want to keep accurate notes. And a note here too is the type of water you use is important. You don't want to just use tap water. You can use filtered tap water. The other thing too is if you have a water softener, that will affect the taste of the wine, I'm sure, because the water tastes different. You know, and if you have like a reverse osmosis system or a distilling system, that's going to be different too, because that takes all the minerals out of the water, which add flavor to it. And it's actually better that way with the flavor. So make your decision of what you want to do. If you have those setups, then maybe you want to buy bottled water and use that. Whatever you decide, that's up to you, but this is what I use, and I've never had a complaint. So we'll start from there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to empty out the sanitizing solution that's in here, because I don't want that to be added to the wine. That will not be a good thing to do. Take the top off, put that back in the sanitizer to keep it going. And then you see on the bottom you have a little shut-off valve. I keep that shut off, and there is sanitizer in this little collection bucket that's on the bottom. So I'm going to take that off and empty that first. Make sure that's empty. I don't rinse it out. I mean, it's not going to hurt that little bit of sanitizing solution. Then open this and empty that out. Okay, and then I shut this. I don't open this till later. Make sure your ring is here. keep a washcloth in my sanitizing and cleaning solution so I can cover all my bases. And get everything totally sanitized, because the last thing you want to do is allow bacteria to grow or some kind of mold or wild yeast. You don't want those. And you can buy a little frame to set these in, or you can be cheap like me and build one to set it in. And you want to have this strap too, a carrying strap. I don't know if it comes with it. I don't recall because I've had it for a while. So, and then it's got marks on here. It shows you all in liters and gallons, and we want to have 3 liters. So 3 liters is, oh my gosh, right there. So start by putting some of my filtered water in there. And then I have some of this water I've been boiling. Give it some heat. I don't want to put too much in because I don't want it too hot. Check my level. It'd be nice if you could see it a little better. 1, 2. It's pretty close. So I need a little bit more of this. And it's not an exacting science. You don't have to be dead on for this. As much as I'd like to be, I don't have to be. I believe I'm close enough there. I'm going to take this thermometer and make sure that's put in. And take the bentonite. Maybe need some scissors with these. Very tough packaging. You want to stir while you're sprinkling it in there. Okay, and that makes like a mud. Well, real thin mud, but muddy water, for lack of a better term. Rinse that off and stick that back in the sanitizing solution. Get ready for the next step. Okay, so now we want to empty out the contents of this package. Typically, it's easiest just to leave it in the box. You might want to maybe mix it around a little bit because it settles in there. And you're going to be mixing some water with it anyhow, so don't be too worried about it. The other thing you might want to do, if you got clothes on you don't want to ruin, is have some kind of lab coat or something that you can put on over your clothes so you don't get grape juice on them. I mean, granted, you probably wouldn't see grape juice too much on the flannel shirt, but you just assume not have grape juice on me. And this is concentrated, so it really will make a mess if it gets on you. Sometimes these lids are difficult to pull off. There. Empty this in there. You can see it's thick, very thick. And this is a Pinot Noire kit. Okay, I've poured all the juice in the fermenter. I've added water to the bag to mix it around to get all the residuals in there. And now I'm just adding more water, heated and non-heated, just to try to get it at or above 70 degrees. And we got to fill it up to 23 liter mark. And 23 liters is right here. So I'm really close. The temperature's not bad. It's probably about 72 degrees. And I'm going to need some more water, so let me fill that back up and keep stirring. I'll get this up to where it needs to be. A good idea too is to make sure it's level so you can judge correctly, or somewhat correctly. And I'm almost there. I'll get that filled up, stir it really good. You know, if it's off a little bit, make sure it's off on the high side a little bit and not the low side. So I'm at the 23 liter, or just above it. I want to stir it really well, get everything mixed in really well. And you can use a hand stirrer, or you can get a little drill and use the drill stir. But just make sure everything is mixed really good. And I had these little 5-gallon buckets that I just put my stuff in. That one's for cleaning, that one's for sanitizing. I got a mark so I know which one I'm using. Well, I'll use this and show you how that goes with a little drill, a little 12 volt or whatever you want. I have it on high. You just gotta be careful of the sides. You don't really want to be scraping on the side. You don't have to go all out. You just go enough to get it going. And it's a whole lot easier doing it by hand. And that should be sufficient. Again, rinse it off. I rinse everything in hot water before I put it in a clean bucket. Okay, so that's all topped up. And let's see. We need 25 degrees centigrade, and we're at, I don't know if you can see that. There, 20. A little bit, well, probably because I'm holding it, but it was at 20. So it's at the minimum. You don't want it any cooler than that. I like to have it a little bit warmer than that. So now all we do is check the specific gravity. And that'll tell you where your sugar level's at, if you've got to add sugar or if you got enough sugar. So I'll take out my test tube, empty all the sanitizer out of it. Same thing with this. And I have this because it's definitely holds enough for the test tube, and I shove it down in there good to try to get past all the foam, because you don't want foam. That makes it hard to read your hydrometer. You don't want to fill it all the way. You want to fill it most of the way, maybe like right there. Done with this. Get that rinse. for cleaning. And now what you want to do is take your hydrometer and lower it in and spin it. And that helps get the air bubbles off the side and give you a more accurate reading. What you want to do is look straight across. And that is, sometimes you got to do it a couple of times. You want to make sure you get the right scale because you got bricks, you got SG, and you got alcohol. So bricks is about 20. Specific gravity. Now that I've done all the mixing of the juice and the bentonite and the water and everything, and my temperature is where it's supposed to be. It's at 20 degrees centigrade, which is minimal, but it's still good. And my SG is 1.082, which it needs to be at least 1.08. And then we're going to sprinkle the yeast on top. You don't mix this in, you just sprinkle it on top and let it go. Make sure you get it all in there if there's any residuals. And I like to make sure that everything's clean on the top. I'll get a little bit of sanitizer, a paper towel, and clean off any residuals on there. Okay. And then we got the top, and it's got a gasket. I want to make sure that gasket's in there and seated properly. That could be a problem. Make sure you're threaded right. On tight, but not too tight. And then I pull my airlock out and get all the sanitizer solution out of that. Or you can leave it in. You can use it in the airlock, sanitizer solution, or you can use water. Or what I use is I buy the cheapest, highest alcohol product that I can find, which is gin. And I use that. Because if it gets sucked back in, it's not going to hurt the wine. The sanitizer isn't good to have sucked back in. I mean, a little bit won't hurt. And water, depending on how long it's been sitting, could be bad because that can actually get germs in it, you know, stuff that shouldn't be in there. And you just stick that on there and you're all sealed, ready to go. And I believe that's it for step one. And you want to leave it now for about 20 to 22 days. You know, this is all step one, day one, and then after 2 weeks, according to these instructions, you want to stabilize and degas, which you can do then or whenever they say here. But this is where I follow this, but I'm not doing any racking, which is unnecessary at this point. Now what I'll do too, let's see, I'll get the water off, and then I'm going to transport this over. But what you want to make sure your collection ball is tight, and then open it up and let it go down in there. Because what's going to happen is as the sediment drops, it's going to go into that collection ball. So it's not going to go into stay in your wine and give it bad flavors or anything. So that's what you want to do. Now I've already taken the FastFerment from where I prepared it, and I've moved it to where I'm going to leave it for the next 2 to 3 weeks or so to do all the fermentation process. I keep it in my furnace room, which is a warm area, because you want to keep your wine or your must, as they call it, in an area between 70 and 75 degrees is what you optimally want to keep. So where I have it now, I'll switch this if I can figure out how to do it. Maybe not, but I have it on this rack that I built, of course. It comes with the brackets, and you can hang them on your wall or whatever you want to do. But I have it sitting there, and I have the strap I carry it with on top so I don't lose that. And you want to wipe any kind of liquid off the outside so you can keep an eye on it. Make sure you got everything tightened and that it's not leaking. So as you can see, let's see, in the airlock, you have the liquid on this side which shows it's pushing. Okay, that's good. That means you have a good seal. Now it's not doing anything yet. It may not do anything for 24 to 48 hours, but after that, that should be bubbling like crazy. So we'll see what happens and I'll keep you updated. So what I do at this point is I clean all the equipment that I've used and put it away clean and sanitize. That way when I go to use it again, all I have to do is put it in sanitizer to make it a lot easier. Now just as a recap, as far as what we have done today with this wine kit, typically I follow the instructions with the kit for the most part and just make adjustments with the instructions from the FastFerment that work with the FastFerment as opposed to using a regular carboy. Now the important things to remember, number one is everything needs to be clean. Your hands, your work area, and the utensils you use to make the wine along with the containers. And keep as clean as you can possibly keep. And number two is the quality of the water you use is very important as far as the outcome of how good the wine is. Now the next thing that's going to be important for the outcome later on is when you bottle, if you want to back sweeten, what you decide to use to back sweeten. If you decide you want the wine less dry than it comes out when it's finished, because when it's finished it'll be dry, it'll be very dry, and typically below a 0, which dry is 0 to 1.5 on the brick scale. And that's the other thing I'd like to go over too, is your hydrometer. Let me just show you this. You have 3 scales. Okay, this one here is the specific gravity scale. This one is the Brix scale. And let's see, that one there shows the alcohol content. So if you look around and just follow it straight around, it'll tell you where you're at. So my wine started at 1.082, and if you follow that around, that's going to show just over 10%, almost 11% alcohol. Now when it finishes, it goes below 0, so you can usually add about 1% to whatever that is, and that's going to be your finished product. So it's probably going to be around 12%. But there are calculations and calculators you can use to get an accurate measurement of what you got going. So then everything gets sanitized. You want to sanitize everything for at least 15 minutes. Longer the better. And when you're doing this process, as far as the wine sitting, it's always better to go longer than shorter. Because the next step is anywhere from 14 days according to the winemaking instructions with the kit to 21 days or 20 days with the FastFerment. The key is the SG, specific gravity, has to be below 1, like 0.996, 0.996 or below. You can have it down to 0.990, it can be any of these. But that's the key factor, is that it gets there before you take the next step. So if you wait longer, it's not going to hurt. The longer you wait, actually, the better the wine. Granted, you can do just 28 days, be done. Or you can take another week, 35 days or 33 days, and just to be sure of what your outcome is going to be, that's going to be good. So that's your decision. But I will keep you updated on what I'm doing with this process, and we'll talk to you later.